Mike, when we bring up the topic of congruency, I know you were fired up when I threw this topic out there as a potential one for us. Why are you so excited to talk about congruency, and how do you even define congruency? What is it? Well, kick us off.
Well, the reason why I'm excited is because when I brought it up, I was like, yeah, hey, I'm going to be talking about congruency. And they're like, what the hell is that? I think that's a perfect reason why we need to talk about it, is if
Sure.
it's unspoken or unknown to some people in the public space. But I was recently having a conversation with one of my new clients about the 4 tools of influence: the rapport, questions, state management, and number 4 is personal congruency, meaning that I believe you benefit more than me when we're talking about interaction with a product or service. So rapport, questions, state management, personal congruency, meaning you benefit more than me. So under that umbrella of having this internal conviction of personal congruency that I'm aligned with my product or service, that's what it comes in an influential standpoint. What it means when you have personal congruency with yourself, it's really my values and my actions are very much in a line, or also known as congruent. So what I say and what I do are 100% aligned or congruent. And that's what personal congruency is to me. And that's why I'm really excited about jamming on that today, because I think too often people say one thing, but do something else. I don't know if you are in agreement with that, where we witness that in places around us, but many people live in the opposite of congruency, which I would call hypocrisy, and they live more of that type of lifestyle. So I think it's a valid place to start.
Right. And so where I come in and on this is like, okay, yeah, congruency versus hypocrisy, right? It's a very a stark contrast. Congruency is doing what you say you're going to do. It's following through on your word. It's living a life that's in accordance with your beliefs. The old question of, who are you when no one's watching, is a really, really important one. And to be frank, what I notice a lot of times is it's the difference between somebody kind of experiencing a mild bit of success and experiencing huge success. It's the difference between somebody kind of scraping by, not just financially and success-wise, career-wise, but just mentally, spiritually, emotionally, really feeling like they're happy and fulfilled. Are they feeling that way? They're probably living a congruent life. Their values and their actions are probably aligned. And if you're not doing that, you're going to feel like a hypocrite. And when you feel like a hypocrite, you can't help but kind of hate yourself. And by the way, Mike's bringing up, this idea of congruency versus hypocrisy. And certainly, I think there's a lot of hypocrisy out there in the marketplace, in the world in general. But I would also say, at times, I feel like I'm a hypocrite, right? At times, I'm not always living up to what I think is my highest values. And so I also want to help the audience understand that, like, you're not in either camp, like one or the other. You're going to kind of fluctuate from like being super congruent and on it and kind of being off. And then, but when you find yourself off, how do you bring yourself back, right? How do you rectify the wrong that you've made and the mistake and the misstep, and maybe the veil that's been kind of pulled over your eyes? So these are all very interesting topics that I'm excited to pitch and catch. What comes up for you, Mike?
Yeah, and when you say that, it's I think about the art of recovery. I think the art of recovery is important. That if you do find yourself reaping the consequences of living through the lens of hypocrisy for a moment, which we have the ability of having conscious choice, and sometimes we don't choose the correct option in the drop down menu, and then if we choose the one with the higher level of consequence, then we got to kind of reap what we sowed. And how do we recover from that? And I think having also a drop down menu of recovery, like the ego might not want to apologize. The ego might not want to, experience damage control, or they might like say, well, you deal with it. Even though I messed up, you have to pay the price. And sometimes that's not what leaders do. That's not why we run this podcast. That's not what better than rich means. if we really want to be leaders of our life and live in congruency, we need to know and own. It's like, I'm better than that. You know, that
Mm.
I chose the wrong drop down menu on that one. It's like, how can I make this right? You know, it might not be perfect, but how can I at least make it right?